Look at this day here. We've got some absolutely beautiful weather. It has chilled up a little bit though. We've got a cold front coming through here in BC, Canada, and it's a little breezy for it, but it's so crisp and clear. So I thought this might be a good opportunity while hanging out with Gracie here a little bit, who is just eating right now. She might come over and do a little Q&A. I do my very best to try to get to everybody's comments, and I appreciate everybody who has commented and asked questions. If I didn't see it, if I didn't catch it, feel free to post it again. Not responding is not on purpose. I probably didn't get to it because there's so many. And welcome to all of you new people who are here. Hopefully this Q&A is helpful. I try to do about one per month and answer any questions that I might have missed or any that are actually quite good that I think I'd like to have everybody read. As they say, if one person asks it, another 10 people are thinking it, or something along those lines. So let's get on with that. Before we get into that, I have two things. One, thank you to all you new members here on YouTube and Patreon. It's been a nice little influx. Really appreciate it, and I hope you're enjoying the extra material that your subscription provides over in the membership area, which is the community tab of YouTube, or the Patreon area on Patreon. Second thing I wanted to talk about that wasn't actually a question that came through, but it came up yesterday in an appointment I had. It connects to a lot of the things that I talk about here and a lot of things that I'm going to talk about in my questions. I've got 15 of them, I think. Yeah, 15 that we're going to try to cover as fast as possible. But I wanted to talk about long line lunging. Briefly, let's make this quick. I'm not an advocate of long line lunging. I find that it doesn't really work too well for anything that I want to do. I've talked to a few people, and primary objective seems to be giving a horse exercise. And I think, fine, cool, if you feel like your horse needs exercise. But I do feel like long line lunging with a whip kind of idea becomes detrimental to the relationship that you might be trying to build. It doesn't mean that other things won't help it, but I do think that it is usually a takeaway most often, maybe not always. There are much better ways to exercise horses, and there are way better ways to create a relationship or work on groundwork. And I found that most horses that are very used to long line lunging are practicing a lot of how to get away from a human, and their body movements and their sort of behaviors, or the things that they project out of them, sort of reflect that. It's something to think about, and I might come back to that as I talk about things here. But long line lunging is something that I would encourage others to maybe find an alternative to that idea. Liberty work is great. Short line groundwork is fantastic as you continue to try to build draw rather than drive with your horse. Anyhow, with that out of the way, let's get on to a few questions. Okay, first question. I've been doing some trail riding lately, so people have been asking about bears and whether or not we have grizzlies or brown bears and black bears, and how they affect the horses and stuff like that. And the question was, do you only have black bears in this area, or grizzlies too? And the answer is we don't have any grizzlies around here. We really only have black bears, and they're quite innocuous. They don't really care about the bears or the horses, and the horses don't necessarily care about them, and we can definitely help them out with that. But no grizzlies around here. It's too far south. Question number 2, also related to that: what if you run into a bear while out on a trail? Do you carry bear spray or something like that? And the answer is no, I don't carry any bear spray. I think bear spray might prove detrimental to the mount that I'm riding. If you get it wrong, or there's a little bit of wind or something like that, you will probably make your horse go south really fast. The sound of the bear spray might be kind of concerning unless you were to get them used to it somehow, which seems like another thing. For bears, generally people carry bear bells. They'll be loud, or they'll be in a crowd of people, and the noise sort of keeps the bears away. Bears don't really want to bother horses and stuff like that. So what we do is we just try to keep on riding, or if we need to turn around and go back the other way, we just do that, and we try to stay as calm as we can. There's really nothing to do per se. Try not to get in between mama and babies kind of idea. And if all else fails, if you're not really sure, just turn around, go back the other way, and take your time while doing it. Okay, question number 3. Another question about riding out and about. I tried to show a little bit of it in my last video about riding with Lena, and the question is, what do you do when you come across dogs? Now, this really depends on the dog owner. Some dog owners are fantastic, some aren't. I've heard stories of how some aren't. I've never come across any dog owner that isn't just great. I've had really, really good experiences with dog owners. A lot of them just say, my dog has never seen a horse. And I'll say, well, no problem. I'll just stand here and you can have your dog just settle down and be okay with having a horse near it. And they do. And we spend, 5 minutes chit-chatting, and both horse and dog sort of watch their owners be calm and quiet and talk in a very sort of quiet way. And then the animals just kind of chill out and they get good with each other. Dog stops barking and the horse stops kind of jittering around a little bit, if they were in the beginning. And you just get it sorted. Now, for the bad ones where the dogs are running around and stuff like that, and they're trying to nip at horses' legs and stuff, I will usually tell the owner I'm not responsible for their dog's health if they choose to let their dog nip around my horse's feet. I won't encourage my horse to do anything per se, but I won't have my horse in danger. So it's very important to communicate clearly to the dog owners. My horse is comfortable, not comfortable. My horse is getting scared. My horse is probably going to react. You're going to want to call your dog back. And if they're, distraught, I don't know how to call my dog back and stuff like that because they had him off leash, you can just say, well, everybody just keep calm, try to catch your dog, and I'll try to keep my horse calm. We don't want anybody running around, and horses are big and fast and dangerous. If you can leave the scene, you can try to, but the dogs tend to kind of follow, and then the owner gets even more worried, and so on and so forth. So it's best if everybody stays calm. Absolute best case scenario is that the dog sort of goes with the owner nicely and comes when called and stuff, but you sort of have to take that as it goes. It's just hanging out. Okay, next question is a little bit of a long one. Number 4 says the same thing with the trail riding. These are all really good questions, so I wanted to add them in. Where Lena got a little bit worried, and then she ended up doing a small bolt. And somebody said, well, what about Lena's senses? Isn't there some credit to be given to the fact that there might be trouble up ahead? She might smell a bear or something. It's February. It's not very likely. We do want to give credit to our horses to figure out if there's something in the bushes or something like that. So we will pay attention to that for sure. And you can have a full listen. You can be straight out. You don't want to go there? No problem. Let's turn around. And you're welcome to do that. I tend to sort of assess the situation myself a little bit and say, can we keep going, please? Sometimes it'll be the sound of water, sometimes it'll be hikers, sometimes motorcycles, sometimes bicycles or something like that, and the horse will be like, I don't know what that is and I don't want to go. So while they may have some validity in the worries that they've got, we can take that into account. There's plenty of times where we have to be, the human, the parent, the owner, the friend that just says, it's nothing to worry about, let's keep going, and help them through it. So it's case by case for sure, and based on the experience that you get, based on the time that you spend doing these kinds of things, you'll figure it out. If all else fails, if you're just not sure, just go back the other way. That's totally cool, and I wouldn't ride with anybody who had a problem with that. You could say, my horse feels scared, I need to go back the other way, and everybody should just be like, well, all right, we're going back the other way. And that's the safest thing to do. There's no reason to put anybody in danger. So hopefully that helps. So that actually answers question number 5 as well. It says, while trail riding, how much should somebody weigh the horse's possible awareness of danger versus making them go on? And that's really going to be up to the rider, how comfortable you feel with trying to work it out. If you don't feel comfortable, I don't see any reason. And then there's the other case where you can just hop off. Which is a great suggestion that somebody had. They just said, well, I'd just hop off and lead them. And I would too. There's no shame, no embarrassment. Absolutely, it is safer to be on the ground than in the saddle, in my opinion. And you can work a little bit on groundwork too. So it's a twofer. Question number 6, do you have any videos on how to get horses to handle things better? Well, I just put one up, so that helps. But there's a few in my backlog that I've got. I'll try to find them and link them, but any trail riding, there's a playlist. If you look inside of YouTube, there's gonna be playlists. And one of those playlists, I think, is trail riding, horse riding. And inside of there will be things that I have put up on trails that I've been on with different horses and ways that I think about figuring things out with them. As I've said, I usually just try to have a lot of patience. I try to work it out, and I apply all the skills that I've practiced in the arena to get through scary objects, tarps and bridges, and through barrels and all kinds of things like that that we generally do when we are in a safer location. And we apply those same concepts when we're out on the trails. It just so happens that we just don't have any fences around us. And you know, that worries us more than anything, and that will then transfer to the horse. So. Number 7, please tell us something about the keen senses of the horse, the eyes, the ears, the smell. Have horses ever been helpful to you in this regard? Yes, a little bit. And these are all related questions. So I'm hoping I'm kind of following the same line of thinking, and it makes sense. But I have had a horse let me know there's a bear in the bushes somewhere. I didn't see it right away. And the horse is pointing. The horses are fantastic for this. All the time around here, I pay attention to what my horses are doing and what they're looking at. I can tell when something's in the bushes, where they are in the bushes, because they're at different angles, and they all point really, really well. Their ears and their eyes all face that one direction. So I've had many instances where the horses have let me know where there's a coyote or somebody's dog or a person or a bear or something like that. And I said, oh, that's where they are. No problem. Let's go the other way, or let's continue on. It's fine. No worries. But nothing that has really stood out as saved my life or anything like that. Yeah. Okay, on the video that we did, or I did, about the horse abuse recently of the guy that whipped the back of somebody else's horse, a few questions from there. Well, the first one was, well, how else would you get a horse to go through the water in such a case? I wasn't really going to cover all of the things that come to mind on how that guy could have trained better, but the very basics, I would have just taken my time. I would have gone much slower, let alone that horse was already doing pretty darn good. It just was struggling with going over the bigger jump into the water. So I likely would have just kept on jumping in from a lower level until the horse was really, really chill with it, really, really calm with it. Didn't have a raised head when I went to approach it. I would have walked, trot. I would have taken things slower and worked up to the point where I could then get them into the bigger jump if I really wanted to do that kind of stuff. And I would just keep encouraging them. I would reassure them. I'd let them know everything's fine. It's all okay. I know it's kind of scary. I wouldn't have used a stick or spurs or any of that kind of stuff to steadily increase the fear. I would have just kept trying to point them in the right direction, reassure them that it's okay, and if they could please go into the water. If all else failed in that regard, I would hop off and I would go in myself. I've talked about going into the water in the past. You want to make sure to be able to get out of the way because they're going to want to jump where you are. But you could let them know, everything's fine, come in with me, let's splash around a little bit. And water training can actually be a heck of a lot of fun, to be honest. And I would have not taken any part of that approach. So there's a few things you can do. Just be patient, keep trying, reassure, or just get in yourself. Lead them in, and then do your groundwork there. You could drive them in from the ground, meaning that you apply sort of a direction pressure approach with groundwork. And then you'd finally hop on and you try it again and make sure that everything stays really, really chill throughout it all. The next one was an interesting one, and I'll read it out. Horses are such forgiving animals. That's why abuse like this often works, in quotes. As in, the horse does what he was refusing, but at what cost to your horse and his trust and faith in humans? It's a really good question. When we go about whacking our horses with anything, we are essentially causing pain. It's undoubtedly painful. And the general argument is, well, horses cause other horses pain. They bite them and they kick them and stuff like that. And I agree with that, but it doesn't make it, who cares about that? It doesn't matter that other horses do it. We have to think about, well, what can we do that's better than what horses do? Because not all horses do that. The brash ones, the over-exuberant ones, the ones that resort to that kind of thing that aren't, they're not good friends with that other horse kind of idea, they will resort to that. And that's what we end up resorting to. So it's kind of like low bar behavior. And just because other horses do it doesn't mean that we should. How does it ruin the relationship with the humans? That's a hard one, and it's hard to define exactly. I would say that it does damage. It does cause the horse to think that I don't want to be with you. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be doing what we're doing, and I don't want to be with you. So in such a case, we really want to think about what we're doing, why we're doing it, and what the end result will be. If it is a small goal, tiny goal, literally, to get in the trailer, get over that thing, and we don't care about the rest, then, you know, some people will just be in that frame of mind. But I think of the long term, I think, well, if I do this now, how am I going to get them into the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing? Are they going to want me around them? Are they going to prove to be more dangerous for more fear inside it? And, you know, so I do think it is damaging, and I think it has consequences that, if done, has to be repaired. And if not, then you just end up subjecting the animal to pain. And if that's your thing, then that's your thing. But hopefully not. Hopefully we're trying to change the horse world so that's not a real thing anymore. Hey. An interesting question: do horses struggle walking through water and streams and stuff? And the answer is, I believe so. I've seen horses struggle with getting through water that is rushing around. If you've ever walked sideways through a stream that is going quickly, you'll find your legs are going kind of sideways. It's weird, hard to balance. The refraction of water, to be able to look down into the ground, is kind of difficult. You won't really see quite where your feet are landing. Horses have the same struggle, I believe, if not worse. And then the other thing that kind of happens is the horses, if there's light and dark spots, I've done a couple of videos on those as well, if the sun is out, but it is, you know, there's shadows and stuff like that, then yeah, you'll have them wondering where on earth they're placing their feet. And that just takes practice, time and practice, and then they get past it and they just go where you tell them to go, and they're like, you've never led me astray so far, and everything works out. Next question is that I'd done a groundwork video on why we should lead horses from a safe distance, and one person said, well, I had it sort of drilled into my head from a trainer at a rescue place that you should always have a horse right beside you when you're leading. And why don't you do that? Is there any special reason? And I feel like I've covered it a few times, but I'm more than happy to cover it again. And the main reason is safety. I never lead a horse near me because it doesn't give me any time to react when they freak out. And this happens, you know, if you're working with afraid horses, feral horses in this case, they, or even Gracie, you know, she can tend to kind of get pretty worried and sketchy and spooky, I guess we could call it. And there's times where I just think, whoa, don't come anywhere near me, because if you come near me, you're probably going to run me over or crash into me or something like that, and it's just undesirable. So I tend to want to keep horses away from me, 5-6 feet, and then I can have enough time, hopefully, to react when they freak out. So that gives me a bigger sense of safety, and less chance. I'm stacking the deck in my favor to not get hurt. So that's my special reason, is that it is far safer. Way too many stories of people getting run over, pretending that they could wrestle with a horse or hold them. You can't hold a horse. Nobody can hold a horse. Not one person on the planet can hold a horse if they want to go somewhere. So the closer you are, the more dangerous it is. They just run you over, squishing to the ground. Some people have ended up in the hospital. I know many stories. People getting hit in the head or crashed into a wall or just plain trampled. Space will always be your friend when it comes to horses. An easy question I got about, and I get quite often, is what's with the piece of wood in the middle of the arena? And it's bridge. I used to use it as a teeter-totter as well, but the horses are heavy, and when I use it as a teeter-totter, it tend to kind of bend a little bit too much, so it's not so good for that anymore, until I create a much stronger one. But it's a bridge that horses kind of used to struggle to get on, and still do here and there, where you get them to jump over it, or you get them to hop on it or hop off, stay in a straight line. And so it's a great training tool. It's just a bridge. Another good question. Actually, I answered this yesterday to a lady, and they said, well, why do horses roll? When they roll, does it mean they feel safer or more secure? And the answer is yes. If a horse is rolling, then they feel safe enough that they can actually do that, and it's a really good thing. So there you go. A good question that came in and comes in once in a while, that people want to get horses, and they say, is it okay to only have one horse? Because having more than one is a big deal. It's more expensive, it's harder to handle, and they get pretty worried. And the answer is not really. No. Horses, like almost any animal on the planet, like to have at least a friend, company, and horses being herd animals tend to want to herd up, and it's natural. When they sleep, they usually have a buddy. When they're just kind of dozing, they also have a buddy, and they like to co-groom. Everything about it is way better if they've got a friend. Now, there have been cases where people get a goat or a mini or a sheep or something like that, and that seems to help out. As donkey help out as well. But another horse is always best. Keeping a horse alone, I've seen many horses alone in stalls, even though they're kind of within a barn and stuff like that, but they're alone for most of their life. They're sad. You can tell they're sad. And some of them get really, really sad. I've seen a couple locally even here, and they just stand in the corner with their head just facing the corner because they don't know what else to do. It's hard. So we want to make sure to have more than one for sure. A good question that came through, when I put the horses out in the arena, sometimes it seems like the space isn't very big. It's actually a really huge space, relatively. But somebody said, have you thought about making your space bigger? And my answer to that is yes, of course. I think about it all the time. I've got limited space here, and land is at a premium. It's very, very expensive. I don't want to combine the smaller arena with the big arena, because the smaller arena is mainly for training, and the purposes of that arena don't fit crazy running around kicking horses. So it's a little bit more dangerous, and it would probably wreck the arena. But I am working on building out the back a little bit more to hopefully have some more space. So we'll see how that goes. A great question that came in on the exercise, we already talked about in that beginning with the lunging. Is it a good idea to jog with a horse to get them to exercise more? And the answer to that is 100%. It's a great idea. It's good for us, good for them. If we go running around with them a little bit, even on a lead line, you can run with them a little bit, and it will be great exercise. So yes, it's good both physically and mentally, because they will feel like you're going with them rather than just standing in one spot and directing and driving and stuff like that. So I tend to move around with my horses an awful lot, and we talk about matching feet. You can match it a trot as well, and if you get really good, you can match it a canter. Not that you're cantering, but you can go quicker, and your feet speed will kind of match. It's a lot of fun, actually. It's like dancing in a way. Not that I dance, but yeah, it's kind of like that. So yes, I highly encourage that people go at the same pace as their horse to bring them up and down. And they will try to match their feet to yours, hopefully. Last question was on a video that I did with Little Miss, where she'd come up behind me and tried to nibble on my shoulder. And somebody said, isn't this horse just being a little bit goofy? Is this advice, because my advice was to have that horse go away, like send them away a little bit. Isn't this advice really for horses that you don't really know, or you're not really aware of, kind of idea? And the answer is she being goofy? A little bit. But generally, when a horse does come up and tries to nibble on your shoulder the way that she was asking for something or trying to send me away to something. My all-round general advice is don't let horses do that. I know a lot of people have come on and say, well, my horse is totally cool and I let my horse blah, blah, blah. And I'd say to that, cool, that's fine. If you feel like you're comfortable enough with your horse doing that, then go ahead. But my all-around general advice for kids or people who aren't aware of horses so much, don't let their mouth come near you. Just reach to them, but don't let them reach to you. And that will keep you safer. Anyways, that's our Q&A for February 2022. Hopefully that's been interesting. Any more questions, let me know anytime. And I'll see you guys in the next one.